After the dismantling of the Ming family telecom fraud syndicate in northern Myanmar, a large number of hidden videos from their notorious fraud base, Wohu Mountain Villa, have recently surfaced. Today, we will take a closer look. First, Wohu Mountain Villa truly lives up to its name. Not only does it house real tigers, but it also contains other incredible wild beasts, some of which are still locked in buildings and cages within the villa. Someone who recently entered the Wohu Mountain Villa building reported hearing eerie tiger roars, which felt different from the usual tiger sounds. As he followed the growls, a fierce and unidentified wild animal suddenly lunged at him. Luckily, there was a wire mesh barrier between them. The wild beast seen by the user left many terrified, with many unable to identify the creature. Some claimed it was a tiger, others said it was a lion, and some even suggested it might be a liger. Everyone agreed that its eyes clearly showed it had caused harm to countless people. The main gate of the villa still carries a sense of grandeur, bearing signs of intense attacks. The once red iron gate is now scorched black from a fire, and a dump truck behind the gate shows signs of having been burned. Comparing this to past videos, it appears that the truck may have been used to transport the piglets, a term used for those who were deceived and brought into the villa. Upon entering the main gate, there are guard posts on both sides. The left guard post shows signs of being attacked, with numerous bullet holes still visible. Inside, two large red buildings stand, one directly facing the gate. The walls of this building are riddled with bullet holes from the firefight, and the red perimeter wall bears the scars of rocket launcher blasts. There is no intact glass left on the buildings. On the left side of the structure, a shell hole roughly 50 centimeters in diameter can be seen, surrounded by numerous bullet holes from an upward angle, indicating intense back-and-forth fighting. Locals report that the battle here lasted several days. The walls of this red building, especially on the 4th and 5th floors, show severe burn damage. The air conditioning unit on the outer walls have all been destroyed by fire. Nearby, there are multiple defensive structures made from discarded tires, and a gun can be seen lying on the ground. The glass curtain walls in the lobby has been completely shattered. Further inside, a pile of electronic equipment is found on the floor, likely used for fraudulent activities. This large patch of lawn was once a key site where the deceived individuals were beaten and drilled. This area serves as entertainment hub of the villa, with a broken sign in simplified Chinese reading, Entertainment City. Inside, there are bars, karaoke, and various other facilities, along with a barbecue restaurant within the premises. At the far end of the area are the tiger enclosures, which house a Bengal tiger. It's worth noting that viewing the tiger requires payment, with a sign stating "No close contact allowed, 10 RMB per person per viewing." A local Burmese vlogger who entered the villa building shared that this was the first sight of fraud by the Wohu Mountain Villa syndicate before the attack on October 27, 2023. The area can hold 200 to 300 people. The ground is covered with documents belonging to Chinese victims who were deceived and brought here. These documents contain personal information such as ID numbers, names, phone numbers, and addresses. He said,
This
is where the fraudsters worked. If you manage to meet performance targets here, people might not bother you. But if you stay too long and fail to meet your targets, they will either sell you out or torture you to death. This is the real face of the villa. Here's a performance record for you to see. These are names and earnings. On July 16, over 60,000 yuan was scammed. On July 17, almost 138,000 yuan was scammed. This is the performance list of the villa, and all of this is the hard-earned money of Chinese people.
The vlogger continued, saying this is the large iron cage used to lock up people. Those who don't obey are handcuffed to the cage. Inside the large cage, you can also see smaller cages, which are reportedly used to house animals. Essentially, people and animals are kept together. He added that he has heard that sometimes people are also locked in the small cages, which is a form of a very cruel torture. This is another area with cages for people. On the ground, there are bowls used by those who are locked up, along with chopsticks. Some people still deny that torture occurred here, claiming the cages were for animals. But would animals use chopsticks? On the walls, there are writings, mostly in Chinese characters, likely from those who had gone mad. This area, like the others, contained cages for people. There is also an iron door outside, similar to a prison, but in worse condition. Once locked in, unless someone on the outside opens the door, there's no way out. Those who don't obey are kept here. Or they could be locked in here, in a water dungeon. A small well like this is real water prison. Could a person locked inside here go mad? This is an early video from Wohu Mountain Villa showing rows of computers where the talons for telecom fraud brought in by deception or force are sitting. In the video, you can see an employee limping along with leg irons still on his feet. This area was once the so-called management office, but now it is in disarray. The dark, eerie hallway feels like the scene from a disaster movie. The vlogger entered another building and introduced.
一楼游戏厅，知道吧？
The first floor is a game hall. If you go upstairs, the stairs are welded shut with steel frames. See that? There are many safes here. The second floor can probably hold several hundred people. There is a lot of information here, see? Too much fraud data. Now, we've reached the fourth floor. As you can see, the fourth floor has large iron doors. This is the living area, and everything is locked behind these iron doors. Anyone living here, if they want to leave, it's impossible. The fifth and sixth floors are the same. People in the dorms can't get out at night.
This is a rare look at Wohu Mountain Villa before it was seized. You can still see an armed guard patrolling at the entrance. Under the guidance of the Chinese government, Wohu Mountain Villa is now being promoted by the Myanmar government as an anti-fraud publicity base. Chinese people have been visiting and filming, but the Chinese government aims to portray the thugs and the people forced into fraud activity as part of a criminal gain, while avoiding mentioning that these piglets were either deceived or kidnapped. They will also refrain from addressing who the true masterminds and protectors behind the fraud syndicates are. But the vlogger hinted more than once in the video that the root cause of telecom fraud is widely known. He implied that the Chinese government is behind it all. In addition to the Ming family fraud base in northern Myanmar, Southeast Asian fraud networks have been dealt a severe blow this year due to the strong crackdown by the US government. On October 14th, Prince Holding Group, a multinational corporation based in Cambodia, and its founder Chen Zhi were indicted by the US Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York. The charges allege that they operated a massive transnational fraud empire under the guise of real estate and financial investments. Chen Zhi is accused of wire fraud, money laundering, and forced labor, facing up to 40 years in prison if convicted. The US Department of Justice also seized nearly 130,000 bitcoins worth 15 billion USD, setting a record for the largest cryptocurrency confiscation in legal history. The United Kingdom has also frozen 19 properties belonging to Chen in London, one of which is valued at over 133 million USD. The enigmatic and powerful figure behind Cambodia's Prince Group, Chen Zhi, has become a focal point of public attention following the official indictment by the US Department of Justice. Chen Zhi, now 37 years old, was once just a young man working in the doing a little bit business in Xiao Town, Lianjiang, Fujian, over a decade ago. According to the corporate biography of his Singapore-based fund company, DW Capital Holdings, Chen Zhi initially ran internet cafes and acted as an agent for online games in Fujian. In the Fujian community, the term doing a little bit refers to a unique industry in Lianjiang operating gaming arcades, internet cafes, or entertainment rooms. These businesses, which appeared to be game entertainment venues, also secretly operated slot machines, private game servers, and even underground gambling. Private game servers are illegal as they offer the same content as the official version but at a lower price, attracting many players. From the late 1990s to 2005, internet cafes were in their golden age, with many from Lianjiang making their first fortunes through doing a little bit. As games like Legend and Miracle became nationwide hits, a single server could bring in significant daily profits. A resident of the Brooklyn community told the media it can be said that most of the people running gaming arcades and internet cafes across China are from Lianjiang. But after the pandemic, many of these places shut down, leading to unemployment for many Lianjiang people who had been doing a little bit in various regions. As a result, several tens of thousands of Lianjiang people have come to the US in the past few years. The Chinese community in New York also saw a similar trend. In the immigrant community around Elizabeth Street in Manhattan's Chinatown, many internet cafes providing 24-hour internet access, gaming, and small-scale gambling were opened over a decade ago. Many of the business owners came from the Lianjiang area of Fuzhou. In 2009, at the age of 22, Chen Zhi left China for Cambodia, which was still relatively closed off at the time. In 2011, he founded Xinghe Real Estate and entered the real estate market in Phnom Penh and Senakville. At that time, Cambodia's land prices were low and the regulations were lax, attracting a large influx of Chinese investment. In 2014, Cambodia legalized its gambling industry. Chen Zhi applied for citizenship and obtained a gambling license. He also used his hometown network to recruit fellow villagers to Cambodia for entrepreneurship. Leveraging his early experience in internet cafes, he replicated the popular lottery scam model from China, combining it with gambling operations to establish the initial Prince Group telecom fraud team. From 2014 to 2016, China's Belt and Road Initiative sparked a wave of overseas investment by Chinese nationals. Sihanoukville, also known as the West Port, became a key focus of the initiative pushed by Xi Jinping. The once peaceful harbor quickly transformed into a Chinese gambling city with an influx of real estate and online gambling funds. In 2015, Chen Zhi founded the Prince Group in Sihanoukville, and within just 5 years, it became one of Cambodia's most influential Chinese-owned enterprises. According to local media, 30% of the Rolls-Royce on the street of Phnom Penh belongs to the Prince Group. The indictment in New York points out that Chen Zhi established multiple gambling zones in Cambodia, which housed call centers and mobile farms. At just two of the group's main bases, 1,250 mobile phones were equipped to control 76,000 social media accounts, specifically targeting victims in China, Europe, the US, and Taiwan. These fraudulent accounts contacted victims via social media, spending time building trust to lure them into investments, only to deceive them into making deposits. Victims, after establishing trust, often suffer significant financial losses. The fraud operations targeted victims globally and relied on local networks to facilitate the scam. One such network operated in Brooklyn, New York, helping the Prince Group transfer fraudulent funds and launder money. In 2022, the FBI dismantled this Chinese money laundering network, confirming that 259 Americans were defrauded, losing a total of 18 million USD. This is just a portion of the group's fraud losses in the US. The US government estimates that by 2024, Americans will lose at least 10 billion USD to Southeast Asia fraud, a 66% increase from the previous year, with the Prince Group's fraud being the most severe. The term Pig butchering scam is a professional term in the fraud industry referring to a process likened to raising pigs and slaughtering them. The Prince Group has an internal fraud manual teaching scammers not to use overly attractive photos of women to increase the sense of authenticity. The indictment shows that starting around 2015, Chen Zhi built at least 10 telecom fraud bases in Cambodia. These bases were heavily guarded with high walls and barbed wire blocking all access. Most employees were lured to Cambodia through fake job advertisements only to be detained upon arrival. Their passports and phones were confiscated, and they faced daily threats of violence and physical punishment. Videos show that the Prince Group in Sihanoukville also recruited large numbers of young women with promises of high-paying jobs, only for these women to lose their freedom and face tragic circumstances after joining the group. The Prince Group is not an isolated case. In just a few years, online gambling in Southeast Asia has evolved into a sophisticated black market industry. A massive influx of Chinese capital, technology, and labor has poured into Cambodia. Myanmar, Laos, and other countries establishing bases under the guise of investment and creating a complete cycle of online gambling, telecom fraud, and money laundering. The indictment also reveals that over 350,000 people are employed in these industries across Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. These fraud syndicates generate annual illegal profits of between 50 billion and 70 billion USD, with the fraud economy accounting for nearly half of some countries' GDP. In Cambodia alone, the annual revenue from the fraud industry is estimated to be between 12.5 billion and 19 billion USD. Driven by this wave, the Chinese population in Sihanoukville surged to over 300,000 in just a few years, with nearly 90% of local annual income coming from the online gambling industry. But the boom was short-lived. In August 2019, Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen signed the gambling ban, which completely shut down online gambling. Following the ban, the financial chain broke, hundreds of high-rise buildings were left unfinished, and more than 200,000 Chinese residents gradually fled. The little Macau, once full of hope, then fell into decline. After the gambling ban, many fraud bases were forced to shut down or relocate, but the bases under Chen Zhi controlled continued to operate as usual. By then, Chen Zhi had become an advisor to Cambodia's Ministry of the Interior and had been awarded the title of Lord by the King of Cambodia. Prince Group had become a household name in Cambodia, claiming to operate over 100 commercial entities in more than 30 countries, with business spanning real estate development, financial services, tourism, aviation, and consumer services, expanding its commercial footprint rapidly. The headquarters of the Prince Group was contracted by a Chinese construction company and was listed on the website of the State-Owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission as the main venue for the Belt and Road Maritime Silk Road Phnom Penh Forum. On the surface, Chen Zhi presented himself as a charitable prince and an entrepreneur active in both the political and business worlds. The US indictment documents pointed out that these legitimate businesses were merely a front for money laundering and the transfer of illicit funds. In reality, many of the Prince Group's legitimate businesses faced operational difficulties and even losses. In stark contrast, its telecom fraud bases were generating up to 30 million USD in daily fraud profits, which, if annualized, amounts to around 11 billion USD. Cambodia merely provided the location. The entire industry's funding and network were circulating among Chinese individuals, and the majority of the victims were also Chinese. The scale of the impact is so vast, yet there has been no response from within China. In fact, Chinese courts in various regions had already classified the Prince Group as a notorious transnational online gambling syndicate as early as 2020. And the Beijing Municipal Public Security Bureau also initiated investigations. In response to external criticism, the Prince Group publicly denied the allegations, claiming that criminals were using the group's name to engage in legal activities. but the explosive content revealed in the indictment by the New York prosecutors on October 14 shed light on even more shocking details. The documents accuse Chen Zhi and his associates of using high-level influence within the CCP to shield the Prince Group's fraudulent operations from law enforcement intervention, including from the Ministry of Public Security and the Ministry of State Security. The indictment provides examples such as in May 2023, when a senior executive of the Prince Group responsible for risk control made a deal with a CCP Ministry of Public Security official. He said the CCP could help Prince people get off, but the condition is to look after the official's son. In another conversation, he even boasted, "Every time there's a crackdown, we're fine." In July of the same year, the executive instructed local public security representatives to extort other businesses on behalf of the Prince Group, stating, "First, rob, then protect." Chen Zhi also bragged multiple times about being able to receive intelligence on CCP Ministry of State Security operations in advance, using bribes to secure protection. Chen Zhi kept records of bribes documenting hundreds of millions of dollars in compensation and luxury goods expenditures. For example, he had purchased yachts and luxury watches worth millions of dollars for foreign high-ranking officials. In 2020, with official assistance, Chen Zhi obtained a diplomatic passport and used it to enter the US in April 2023. After the Prince Group case was exposed, a man named Eric, who previously served as an agent in the Political Security Bureau of China's Ministry of Public Security and is now in exile in Australia, recently posted a series of revelations on the social media platform X, detailing his past interactions with the CCP state security system and the Prince Group. In Eric's post and some supporting documents, he reveals connections between the Prince Group and CCP's secret department. He claimed that the Prince Group's ability to operate long-term in Cambodia was due to the protection from high-level officials during the tenure of former Vice Minister of Public Security Sun Lijun. He further revealed that the family members of Sun Lijun flew to Australia on Chen Zhi's Gulfstream jet. Eric states, "The Prince Group was able to operate long-term in Cambodia thanks to protection from high-level officials during Sun Lijun's time as Vice Minister of Public Security. The family members of Sun Lijun flew to Australia on Chen Zhi's Gulfstream jet. Senior political security officials from Beijing and Chongqing held secret meetings at Chen Zhi's private club, with cars picking them up and providing full hospitality throughout." Eric also claimed that he once served as the administrative and planning director at a company under the Prince Group and had written the charter for the Prince Charity Foundation. He stated, "As a multinational criminal organization, image is very important, and politics must be involved. The Prince Group's black money is likely massive, so they need to establish a very large presence. Profit isn't the priority. As long as they can cook the books and launder money, that's enough." He emphasized the Prince Group and similar enterprises are deeply interconnected with China's secret systems. No matter how long they operate overseas or whether the bosses have acquired foreign nationalities, once there is an operation, they will cooperate fully. Eric also pointed out some of the patriotic little pinks are indigently asking why the country isn't taking action against cross-border telecom fraud. They think the government is their backer, but they don't realize that the government is actually the biggest backer of these fraud bases. Some people have pointed out that the telecom fraud bases backed by the CCP are far more brutal than many people imagine. Aside from the newcomers who have just been lured into the fraud bases and a few employees whose humanity has not yet been fully lost, most people who spend a long time in these places eventually lose their humanity. A recent survivor from a Prince Group telecom fraud base revealed that Yu Xiaodong, the man who pushed his pregnant wife Wang Nuan off a cliff in a widely reported case, was a fraudster at the base. Yu Xiaodong used highly professional tactics to approach Wang Nuan. He studied her social media to analyze her emotional needs, then used a perfect persona approach to win her over. This method matched exactly what the training provided by the fraud syndicate. Wang stated that Yu initially planned to sell her to a telecom fraud base in northern Myanmar, but when that didn't work out, he resorted to poisoning her. Yu Xiaodong was eventually sentenced to 33 years in prison by a Thai court. Now both the Wohu Mountain Villa and the Prince Group bases have been destroyed, leaving behind a wasteland. This signifies the inevitable downfall that awaits the malicious forces behind them.